Hi everybody, this is a quick rundown of how to make your weather data analysis graph. On the bottom, across the bottom of your graph, you're going to be graphing your days. And then on one side, you're going to be graphing the temperature if you're doing the regular version, or if you're doing the flex version on that side, you're going to have dew point instead. But that's up to you on which one you're doing. On the right side then, I did the air pressure. So I actually have two vertical different units going on at the same time, and we're going to graph them on the same graph. When I do temperature, I'm going to be going to my days, and I'm going to go ahead and graph, make a dot for each day's temperature as I go through. Something might look something like this. And then I'll connect my dots. And then I'll go through and I'll graph the pressure data for each day as I go through. And that might look something like this. And we'll end up with two pieces of information. Now, of course, you will go all the way across, all the way to day 20. And I'm leaving it up to you to figure out what numbers you go by as you count up. Are you counting up by ones or twos? You need to fill up the whole graph. With air pressure, you'll notice it probably starts around like 28.0. And I would maybe recommend by counting by 0.1s or maybe actually probably 0.2s as you count up. After you have your graph, we're going to turn over to the back of this page and we're going to start analyzing our data. You'll notice I made two small changes here. Of course, we graphed 20 days instead of 10 days, so you'll want to make sure to make that change. And we're going to be answering these questions to see when we had an inverse relationship. And remember, an inverse relationship would look something like this, where every time blue goes up or down, red is doing the opposite. So when blue is going up, red is going down, etc. That's an inverse relationship. And a direct relationship is if blue is going up or going down, red is doing the same thing. Our data is going to be a little messy because, of course, there's a lot of different variables going on with weather. So what I would recommend doing is looking at your intervals and looking at your different days. And so saying if this is day 1 to day 2 to day 3, I would count and I would say how many days were direct relationships and how many were indirect for your graph. And you might say for this graph here, there was 0 out of 3 were indirect, but 3 out of 3 were direct. And you'll need to look back at your data and see how many out of 20 had an inverse relationship and how many out of 20 had a direct relationship. And then make an overall assumption about what you see. And then we're going to be writing a conclusion. You're going to follow these directions here on number 4, and you're going to say, what conclusion statement can you make about the relationship between temperature or dew point and pressure? If you did dew point as the flex option, you'll be answering it for dew point. If you did air pressure, answer for air pressure. And I want you to think about what kind of air creates high pressure, what kind of air creates low pressure. In your conclusion, I need you to tell me how you know and what your evidence is, and then describe 2 specific places on your graph that support your conclusion. So you'll need to write in a sentence 2 spots that show that. Here's a start to your conclusion. You could start off by saying, according to my data, comma, as air pressure goes up, what happens to the temperature? You would write your answer in here. And then continuing on, as air pressure goes down, blah, 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 you'll write your answer. And then I need you to give me your evidence here, writing in complete sentences. Finally, and please do not forget this part down here on the bottom, I need you to explain why does this relationship exist. You'll be writing on a separate piece of paper, full sentences, how does temperature or dew point create higher and lower pressures? Write your answer on a separate sheet, and then staple, that should be staple, sorry, typo, staple onto here. You have notes from the last couple days. Be looking at those notes. Be looking online if you like to try to get an understanding. If you have any questions, bring them into class. And if you're really struggling with this, do as much as you can and then bring in your questions, and I'll be happy to help. Okay, happy writing, and I will see you tomorrow.